someone out there scared.
I'm used to security cameras on me. I'm not proud of it, but I'm used to it. You know? Good, yeah. Yeah, hard to believe the year is almost over. Yeah. Geez, when I was a kid growing up.
Good afternoon.
I did my parents
I believe it is right at noon, and so it's time for Bites and Bits of History. And this is our regular program here that comes to you through sponsorship from the John and Loretta Hines Foundation, who generously supported the development of this facility, Tyler History Center. And I want to welcome you all on a fairly decent December day. That wasn't yesterday, but thank you for coming out. And as I say, if you keep coming, we're going to keep doing this because it's been very popular, and we really appreciate the attendance and the input from the public, people who come to this. So, my name is Bill Lawson. I'm Executive Director of Mahoning Valley Historical Society, and we own and operate the Tyler History Center along with the Arms County Museum of Local History up on Wick Avenue. And we have a third site you've probably heard about, but we'll talk about that in the future. So, little internal business before we start. Memories of Christmas Past. Everybody been there yet? Yes, good. Well, I just want to let you know we're running that through Tuesday, December 31st. New Year's Eve is the last chance, and then it'll be closed until next season. This coming week, with the Christmas holiday in the middle of the week, the museum will be closed on Monday the 23rd, Tuesday the 24th, and Wednesday the 25th. We will reopen on Thursday the 26th for Twilight Thursday. It's the last one in this season's run. We have it tonight too, till 7 o'clock at the Arms County Museum. And then it'll be open straight through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday the 30th, and then Tuesday, New Year's Eve. So if you haven't been there yet or you want to go back, please plan to do that. And then getting into the new year, 2025, yes, it's time to say that. We'll be coming up on Cookie Table and Cocktails again, our wonderful, well-received annual signature fundraiser. And Baker registration will open if you participated in the past in January. And then soon after that, tickets will go on sale. This will be all mid to third week of January. And the event is Saturday, February 22nd. And once again, it'll be at St. Mary's Assumption Social Hall, 356 South Bella Vista Avenue on Youngstown's west side. So please plan to be there, have a good time, eat more cookies than you would ever want to, and support our organization and all that we do with our mission. Looking ahead also in January, on Thursday, January 16th, our next program in our series marking the 150th anniversary of Mahoning Valley Historical Society, which will be in September of 2025. Our next part will be Caring for the Sick, Youngstown physicians, nurses, and hospitals from 1910 to 1920. And that program will be done by Cassie Nespor, who is a veteran of Bites and Bits of History. She is with YSU Mod Library and Archives, and also is curator of the Melnick Medical Museum on the campus of Youngstown State University. So hope to see you back on Thursday, January 16th for that program. But today, we've got a great one coming up, and we're looking to Brooke Bobovnyik, who is our curatorial assistant here at Mahoning Valley Historical Society, and her program is the Modernization of Youngstown and Mahoning Valley, 1900 to 1910. Brooke is a local native and an alumna of Youngstown State University, where she received her Bachelor of Arts degree in History in 2020 and Master of Arts degree in History with a certification in Applied History in 2022. She served as an intern at the Youngstown Historical Center of Industry and Labor known as the Steel Museum in 2018, and then from 2020 to 2022, she worked as a graduate assistant intern at the Steel Museum and developed several online exhibits that were published on the museum's website. In 2021, she interned at the Arms Family Museum, where she did inventorying of the museum's artifact collection and cataloged several items of clothing and Native American projectile points on the museum's Past Perfect database. And since June of 2022, she has been our first part-time and now full-time curatorial assistant for MVHS, and I'm very pleased to present Brooke Bobovnyik.
Thank you all. Youngstown and the Mahoning Valley witnessed much progress in the 19th century. The building and expansion of railroads, the discovery of natural resources such as coal, limestone, and iron ore, favorable for iron production, the establishment of businesses, and ultimately the beginning of the steel industry with the founding of the Ohio Steel Company in 1892. The promise of opportunity and wealth drew many to the region, and the population grew rapidly. In 1900, Youngstown's population reached 44,885, an increase of 11,665 just from 1890. The Mahoning Valley at this time totaled 174,112. As the population continued to grow, further development was essential to keep up with its needs and demands. The period from 1900 to 1910 saw such development. The beginning of the new century was a time of economic modernization. The region expanded with the building of new bridges, the needed upgrading of healthcare and government institutions, skyscrapers began to multiply, new forms of entertainment became available, and steel, the automobile, and even leather became the leading industries in the region. Such developments played a large role in propelling Youngstown and the Mahoning Valley into its golden era. While some bridges were already in existence by the turn of the new century, the construction of several more enhanced the transportation of goods, natural resources for industries and people, as well as expanded cities for further residential and commercial settlement. The following are just a few of those bridges. The Market Street Viaduct, though opened in 1899, expanded Youngstown and provided residents with access to its south side. This high-level bridge, which cost $230,000 and measured 1,600 feet, was managed by Youngstown Bridge Works. The bridge's flooring was made of sheet asphalt provided by Youngstown Iron and Steel Roofing Company and steel sheets for reinforcement. The McGuffey Road Bridge, built in 1901, crossed over Crab Creek and connected Youngstown's north and east sides. This $60,000 bridge eliminated grade crossings from the Erie and New York Central Railroad tracks, providing safer travel for automobiles. The South Avenue Bridge, constructed in 1902, opened the east side of Youngstown to the south side. It underwent a 13-foot raising the grade to allow the use of automobiles. At some point, it was also extended over railroad tracks in the south of the Mahoning River. The bridge was later replaced in 1927. The Mahoning Avenue Bridge, replaced with a new bridge over today's I-680, was built in 1903 by the Columbus engineering firm Houston and Cleveland, which operated from 1902 to 1907. It opened access to Youngstown's west side. The bridge, which cost $200,000 and measured 1,160 feet, spanned the Mill Creek Valley on its upper level and Mill Creek on the lower level. Houston and Cleveland also constructed the Main Street Bridge over Yellow Creek in Poland in 1904, which was later replaced. The East Federal Street Bridge in Niles dates back to 1904. It was originally located on Robbins Avenue before being moved to East Federal Street. This iron bridge was the first to be constructed over Mosquito Creek and was later replaced in 1950. The Newell Bridge in East Liverpool was a cable suspension bridge Built in 1905 by the Newell Bridge Company, a subsidiary of the Homer Laughlin China Company, and designed by Edwin Kirtland Morse of Pittsburgh. It measured 1,590 feet long and spanned the Ohio River between East Liverpool and Newell, West Virginia. It was used to transport East Liverpool employees of the Homer Laughlin China Company to its new pottery in Newell. The Spring Common Bridge of 1910 replaced the original structure built over the Mahoning River at Fifth Avenue in 1897. The bridge eliminated the Pennsylvania Railroad grade crossings and brought traffic from the west and south sides to downtown Youngstown. It was widened to include sidewalks for pedestrians. The Summit Street Bridge in Warren was built in 1910 by the Hackathorn Contracting Company of Indianapolis, Indiana. The bridge, designed by the Watson Engineering Company, connected the west side to downtown Warren. Along with the construction of these new bridges, streets were also improved. Pavement replaced the mud and dirt roads, with both Wick Avenue and West Federal Street being paved in 1908. Curbs were created and streets were widened for traffic. According to an article that appeared in the Vindicator on June 26, 1911, in 1900, there were 120 miles of streets in Youngstown, and 8.67 miles were paved. In 1910, 151 miles of streets existed in the city, with 49.31 miles paved. During the 19th century, typhoid fever ravaged cities across the United States and continued its impact into the 20th century. The epidemic was fueled by the lack of sanitation facilities and clean water. The following statistics on typhoid fever in Youngstown were reported in 1902 by Dr. William Buechner, a local physician and surgeon. In 1897, there were 140 cases and 19 deaths. In 1898, there were 147 cases and 28 deaths. In 1899, there were 353 cases and 54 deaths. In 1900, there were 325 cases and 39 deaths. And in 1901, there were 437 cases and 59 deaths. By 1903, Youngstown ranked third place in the state for typhoid fever. Symptoms of typhoid fever included fever, red skin lesions, muscle aches, headache, stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, and diarrhea. With the influx of residents and industries, the need to improve the water supply became vital. According to Joseph G. Butler, Jr., Youngstown's water, which came from the Mahoning River, was not filtered. This became dangerous as more industrial runoff, sewage, and foreign materials from floods entered the river. In 1904, the Youngstown City Waterworks filtration plant was developed and completed in 1905 on the east bank of the Mahoning River. It had an initial capacity of treating 10 million gallons of water. The plant contained 4 boilers, 1 triple expansion pumping engine with a 7.5 million gallon capacity, 3 centrifugal pumps connected to turbine engines, which contain an 8 million gallon capacity, and a pumping capacity of 10 million gallons. The filtration plant was able to deliver 12 million gallons of water daily. The equipment for this new filtration plant was provided by the William Todd Company, which was a producer of machinery for the steel industry, and in 1915 later became a part of United Engineering and Foundry Company. While typhoid fever did not completely disappear, its spread was slowed. Seeing the importance of this development, Niles followed suit by installing its filtration plant in 1909 with a capacity of treating 3 million gallons per day. On September 8, 1881, the Youngstown Hospital Association was incorporated, with its first president being John Stambaugh. In 1882, on Oak Hill Avenue, a hospital was erected and opened in March of 1883. There were 59 admissions in its first year. A training school for nurses was later established in 1896. However, by the turn of the new century, admissions increased and the facility became inadequate. In December of 1900, Myron C. Wick, a prominent local businessman and a cousin of Olive Freeman Arms, funded the erection of an administration building, operating rooms, 2 wards, a powerhouse, male surgical wards, an obstetrical ward, and a children's ward. Simultaneously, the Charles D. Arms family funded a women's ward. The Myron Israel Arms family, who was the brother of Charles Dayton Arms, consisting of Myron Arms Jr., Mary Arms Wick, Warner Arms, Emmeline Arms Peck, Jenny Arms Hoffer, and Harriet Arms Booth, provided the funds for a nurse's home. Sally Todd, the daughter of Governor David Todd, and the wife of C.H. Andrews, who was a founder of the Andrews and Hitchcock Iron Company, funded 2 male medical wards. A private room ward was funded by Edith Andrews Logan, daughter of C.H. Andrews. The Youngstown City Hospital South Side Unit, as it became known, was opened in 1902, adjacent to the original site, with a 125-bed capacity, compared to the old hospital, which only had a 70-bed capacity. This new hospital, designed by the Boston architectural firm Dwight and Chandler, featured rock-faced limestone and ward solariums with rooftop skylights. According to the Sanborn map, the administration building and an operating room were located in the center, with 4 patient wards on each side. The nurse's home was situated on the east side of the property. A tunnel connected the center section to a building on the rear of the property, which contained a morgue, laboratory, and laundry. Following the establishment of Southside Hospital, Warren founded its hospital and School of Nursing in 1907. This hospital had a 50-bed capacity. After nearly 3 decades of service, Mahoning County's original courthouse, which had been built in 1876, following Youngstown's appointment as county seat on the corner of Wick Avenue and Wood Street, was no longer suitable. In November of 1907, the erection of a new courthouse, to cost $1 million, was approved. 1 year later, the current site on Market Street between Front and Boardman Streets was selected. In June of 1908, the cornerstone for the new courthouse was laid, and construction was completed in 1910. The new courthouse was designed by Charles F. Owsley in the Second Renaissance Revival style. This new 5-story courthouse measured 216 feet by 86 feet high and featured granite and terracotta facades, 6 40-feet Ionic columns facing Market Street, 2 grand marble staircases, marble columns and flooring, mahogany woodworking, a 4-story rotunda, glass dome, wall murals, and courtroom murals. Placed on top of the courthouse was a copper sculpture titled Justice, Strength, Authority, and Law, which still exists today. An article, which appeared in the Youngstown Vindicator on June 26, 1911, detailed the makeup of each floor. The first floor contained public offices of the probate court, a workroom, office for the probate judge, office for probation officer, juvenile courtroom, probate courtroom, office for the city commissioner, 3 rooms for city board of review, office for county auditor, office for the county treasurer, and offices and workrooms for county recorder. The second floor consisted of offices for county sheriff, offices for county clerk of courts, a large courtroom, Mahoning County Circuit Courtroom, and a courtroom for reviewing cases appealed from common pleas jurisdiction. The third floor contained offices, grand jury rooms, and a private room for grand jurors, witness rooms, offices for prosecuting attorney, rooms for county engineering department, board of election rooms, county coroner rooms, rooms for court stenographer, and a room for county surveyor. The fourth floor held 2 large courtrooms, law library rooms, and a common pleas courtroom. And the basement contained a kitchen, dining room and lounge room, restrooms, storage rooms, utility rooms, office for Board of Infirmary, and rooms for the Grand Army of the Republic. The ending cost for the Mahoning County Courthouse was estimated to be over $1.9 million. The Warren Library Association was incorporated in 1890. It had a collection of 1,738 books, and from 1897 to 1906 was located on the first floor of the Trumbull County Courthouse. The library began as a subscription library, but became a free public library in 1898. At the turn of the 20th century, a space of its own became crucial. In 1903, Andrew Carnegie contributed $28,000 for the erection of a new library, which was dedicated in 1906. The site for the new library on High Street Northwest was a gift from Judge Milton Sutliff of the Ohio Supreme Court. Funds were provided yearly by the city of Warren to maintain the library, and the present library on Mahoning Avenue Northwest was built in 1971. Library services in Youngstown began in 1880 when the Youngstown Library Association, whose name later changed to the Reuben McMillan Free Library Association in 1898, was incorporated. The first library was established at the home of Richard and Henrietta Brown in 1899, located on the corner of Front and Market Streets. The library remained at this location until 1907. The selling of the Browns' property, as well as a $50,000 donation from Andrew Carnegie, provided the necessary funds to establish a new library on the corner of Wick and Rayan Avenues. This land was previously owned by William Scott Bonnell, who was a vice president of the Brown, Bonnell and Company. The new library, designed by Charles F. Housley, was opened in 1910. It featured reference and children's room on the main floor, an auditorium on the second floor, offices for staff, a teacher's room, study and music rooms, and rooms used by other organizations. The library contained room for 200,000 volumes, and on its opening day, the library contained 40,000 volumes. New technologies in construction, such as the use of steel foundation beams, made it possible for buildings to reach several stories tall and become multifunctional. This new form of construction was pioneered in the United States by John Eisenman, a Cleveland architect. These steel foundation beams replaced the use of wooden beams, which had been prevalent in early structures. The Dollar Bank building, located on the northwest corner of Central Square, was designed by Charles H. Housley. It was built around 1901 or 1902 for the Dollar Savings and Trust Company. The top 2 stories were occupied by the Youngstown Club until 1926. The Wick Building, also known as Wick Tower, located on West Federal Street, was erected in 1910. It was designed by architect Daniel Burnham in the Chicago school style, and this style featured steel frames with cladding. The 12-story building measured 184 feet in height, and it was financed by Myron C. Wick and George D. Wick. The building was home to the Wick Brothers Trust Company, which was organized in 1908. The business later merged with Dollar Savings and Trust Company in 1909. And today, this building houses 37 apartments. The Stambaugh Building was designed by Albert Kahn in the neoclassical revival style. Built in 1907, it consisted of a concrete and steel frame. The interior contained terrazzo floors and marble walls and stairs. Originally 8 stories tall, the top 5 stories housed offices for the Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company. The lower 3 stories housed Ewer's department store. The building cost $1.5 million, and 4 more stories were added later, around 1914. Today, the building has been transformed into what is known as the Doubletree Hotel with a restaurant on the first floor. The Mahoning National Bank building, erected in 1910, was designed by Albert Kahn in the commercial style. Features of this style include steel beam construction, decorative cornices, and large windows. The 12-story building opened in 1911. In 1925, the width of the building was doubled, with 5 bays added. Today, the building is being renovated for office space and apartments. The introduction of steel production in the 1890s excelled well into the 20th century, as the demand for a stronger and more malleable product continued. During this time, we see the expansion of Republic Iron and Steel, which formed in 1899, and the rise of Youngstown Sheet and Tube in 1900, two of the leading steel producers in Youngstown. Republic Iron and Steel Company, founded in 1899 by the consolidation of Brown Bonnell Iron Company, the Andrews Brothers and Company, the Mahoning Valley Iron Company, and later the Sharon Iron Works. It was established on the east side of Youngstown near the Mahoning River on Poland Avenue. During the first decade of the 20th century, the company worked to modernize its facilities it had acquired for the production of steel. In 1900, a Bessemer steel plant was installed, which consisted of 5 2-ton converters, 4 cupolas, which are furnaces used to remove impurities from iron, and this process is needed to make steel, and a 32-inch blooming mill. This plant was later rebuilt in 1902, and 2 10-ton converters, a 42-inch blooming mill, billet mills, and 2 more cupolas were constructed. Then in 1905, a 28-inch sheet bar and rolling mill, along with a 250-ton mixer, were added to this plant. The company also erected continuous mills and scalp mills, 2 blast furnaces, and a tube mill department between 1901 and 1910. The tube mill department consisted of a socket shop, galvanizing equipment, threading floors, and 2 butt weld and 2 lap weld mills. The construction of an open hearth steel plant began in 1910 and was completed in 1911. The company continued to improve its facilities into the 1910s. According to Joseph Butler, the Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company was, quote, the most important industrial corporation in the Mahoning Valley, as well as in the state of Ohio, and one of the great industrial enterprises of the world, end quote. Initially known as the Youngstown Iron Sheet and Tube Company, it was founded in November of 1900 by George D. Wick and James A. Campbell, with an original capital of $600,000. The plan was to produce iron sheets and iron pipes in a small plant, but the company quickly expanded. Between 1901 and 1902, a plant was erected on the east side of Youngstown between the Mahoning River and the B&O and Pittsburgh and Lake Erie railroads. It consisted of, quote, 15 double puddling furnaces, a muck bar mill, a scalp mill, 3 tube mills, and 6 sheet mills, end quote. Iron was dropped from the company name as its focus shifted to mainly steel products. In 1903, 32,000 tons of galvanized sheets and 90,000 tons of pipes were produced. Between 1905 and 1906, a Bessemer steel plant was built, which would help produce semi-finished products. In 1908, 2 500-ton blast furnaces, a mixer, and a pig casting machine were built. These would produce the pig iron needed for steel production. In addition, 10 double puddling furnaces, 9 sheet mills, and 6 tube mills were built. The company continued to build additions to support its growing steel production into the 19-teens. George D. Wick was named president, and Campbell became vice president of this newly formed company. As a side note, Wick and Campbell crossed paths in the 1890s when Campbell came to work for the Union Iron and Steel Company, which was operated by the Wick family. This company later became a part of U.S. Steel. As George D. Wick's health declined, he took a step back from the company. Campbell was appointed the new president of Youngstown Sheet and Tube around 1905 and continued to lead the company until 1932. George D. Wick perished in the sinking of the Titanic on April 15, 1912. While previous modes of transportation, such as steam locomotives, streetcars, and trolley lines, continued to be used, a new device was underway: the automobile. The Mahoning Valley had 3 automobile manufacturers: the Packard Motor Car Company, the Fredonia Manufacturing Company, and the Mahoning Motor Car Company. The Packard Motor Car Company, originally known as the Ohio Automobile Company, was founded in Warren in 1899 by James Packard, William Packard, and their partner George Lewis Weiss. James Packard, an engineer, produced the first gasoline buggy-type car, the Packard Model A. The Model A contained a one-cylinder engine. From 1899 to 1903, the three partners produced 400 Packard cars. In 1902, the Packard Model G with a twin-cylinder was introduced. In 1903, Packard began to produce four-cylinder models. Packard cars quickly became a luxury car in the area. But in 1903, the company was moved to Detroit, Michigan. The brothers were still affiliated with the motor company until 1909, when James resigned as its president. And I'm going to toss out a fun fact here. The area's first automobile races occurred in 1900 at the Youngstown Fairgrounds between two Packard cars. The Fredonia Manufacturing Company, formerly the Fredonia Carriage and Manufacturing Company, was located on the corner of Market and Front Streets. It began producing cars in 1901. Its Fredonia car was a one-cylinder model that was entirely produced in Youngstown and is known for its speed. The company also manufactured the Fredonia Runabout, a two-passenger car, and the Fredonia Tonneau, a four-passenger car. The company produced 200 cars before it went out of business in 1904. The Mahoning Motor Car Company, originally the Youngstown Carriage and Wagon Company, was located at the southeast corner of Hazel and Boardman Streets. The company was organized in 1903 by Warren P. Williamson Sr., D.E. Webster, Charles Gaither, and Albert Alton, and began producing cars that same year. It was known for its Mahoning automobiles, which featured one-cylinder engines that were air-cooled, a device invented by Gaither, who was previously an engineer at Fredonia. The company manufactured 90 cars between 1904 and 1905. The Ohio Leather Company, originally known as Mahoning Leather Company, was founded on North State Street in Girard in 1900. Its founder was Joseph Smith, a Girard resident, who had invented and patented a new kind of liquor for tanning leather. In 1901, the company was reincorporated as the Ohio Leather Company. It became the largest producer of calf leather products such as gloves, shoes, boots, and belts in the country. Outside of the local steel industry, the Ohio Leather Company was the largest employer in Girard, and at one point having 600 employees. But sadly, the company closed in 1971. While advancements in infrastructure and the rise of new industries were occurring, new forms of entertainment were also taking hold. Amusement parks and nickelodeons were providing Mahoning Valley's residents with the new ways to spend their leisure time. Established in Girard around 1897 or 1898, Squaw Creek Park, which was later renamed Avon Oaks in 1903, became the Mahoning Valley's first amusement park, and at one time rivaled Idora Park. When the park first opened, it contained picnic grounds, a dance pavilion, swings, the casino theater, and a baseball field. Between 1903 and 1907, the park expanded to include a Japanese garden, a newer and larger dance pavilion, which measured 80 feet by 100 feet, a roller skating rink, which became known as the Avonia, the toboggan slide, a figure-8 roller coaster, a zoo and aviary, a shooting gallery, a Ferris wheel, a lake for boating and swimming, a half-mile racetrack, Japanese and German villages, fireworks displays, and games such as tug-of-war, a slot machine, and a wheel of fortune. For special occasions, Avon Oaks would attract as many as 30,000 visitors. And while popular among residents, Avon Oaks did not last long, as excessive rainfall during the summer months and issues with management forced it to close in 1908. Idora Park, originally named Terminal Park, opened in May of 1899 and was situated on a 7-acre plot of land adjacent to Mill Creek Park. It quickly found success, offering a theater with vaudeville acts and minstrel shows, a casino, picnic grounds, bandstands, a dance pavilion, a pool, and concession stands. The park underwent several expansions in its first decade. The first figure-8 toboggan slide was constructed in 1902. The first circle swing was added between 1903 and 1910. The drinking fountains became equipped with cooling devices in 1908. Roller skating was introduced between 1904 and 1910, and a roller skating rink was later built in 1916. A photography gallery in 1910. A carousel pavilion was added in 1910, which at one point housed 2 carousels. The Dip the Dip slide friction roller coaster was added in 1910. This coaster was designed by Edward Bettel and built by the T.M. Parton Company of Pittsburgh. And finally, a newer dance pavilion was built in 1910. It was designed by Angus Wade and measured 238 feet by 96 feet. It was coined the largest ballroom between Chicago and New York City. Reported in the Youngstown Vindicator on May 29, 1905, for its 1905 season opening, it was estimated that 15,000 people visited Idora Park. Idora Park continued to be a popular attraction for residents of all ages and grew immensely before the Great Fire of 1984. According to historian Sean Posey, the first theaters, known as nickelodeons, that appeared in the Mahoning Valley were located in the central business districts. Movie showings progressed from 1 reel films of 20 minutes to multiple reel films that lasted around an hour. Youngstown contained several nickelodeons along or around West Federal Street during this time. Some of these included the Grand Opera House, opened in 1890, later showcased motion pictures played by Sam Warner for a short time. The Park Theater, opened in 1901 on South Champion Street as a vaudeville house. The theater later showed burlesque and motion pictures. The Dome Theater, opened in 1906 at 206 West Federal Street. The Dome was enlarged in 1908 to seat 299 patrons. The Lyric Theater, opened in 1908 on the current site of the Home Savings and Loan Company, now Premier Bank, had a 400-seat capacity. The Princess Theater, opened in 1908 on South Champion Street, started with vaudeville acts before showing motion pictures in 1912. The Bijou Theater, which is pictured, opened in 1908 on 4 West Federal Street with a 196-seat capacity. And this site is now First National Bank. In Niles, motion pictures were shown by the Warner Brothers, comprised of Sam, Jack, Albert, and Harry. After purchasing a projector in 1903, the brothers turned a downtown vacant store into a makeshift theater, playing The Great Train Robbery. The brothers also showed the movie at Dyble's Butcher Shop, located on today's East State Street. They soon traveled throughout the valley, screening The Great Train Robbery in cities like Girard and Warren, and even Sharon and Newcastle, Pennsylvania. And as a side note here, in 1907, the Warner Brothers founded the Cascade Theater in Newcastle. In Girard, the Luna Theater was erected on State Street in 1910, becoming the city's first Nickelodeon. The theater played silent movies accompanied by piano music. Several years after the establishment of these first Nickelodeons, and with the growing popularity of motion pictures, movie theaters moved into neighborhoods and suburbs throughout the Mahoning Valley, bringing entertainment to those who did not or could not travel downtown. As stated previously, the first decade of the 20th century was a time of economic modernization in the region. The rise in the population, brought about by the promise of opportunity, saw developments in infrastructure, industry, and even entertainment. What transpired in these early years propelled Youngstown and the Mahoning Valley into its golden age, which would last for many years to come. Thank you.